What's the deal? You already know what it is. Back in this one, another video to pop out to my young boys, maybe girls, but no, today, no, man. No, today I want to get on here and talk about the Shanon Sharpe situation. You know, I've been seeing a lot of things as far as that case goes, and you know, that's the current talk of the town. So, you know, yeah, I just want to get on here real quick and discuss that a little bit. You know, as y'all know, Shanon Sharpe is he's a football NFL Hall of Famer, currently a social media personality. And yeah, he's recently been under hot water for some current, you know, R-word, hard R allegations, where he's apparently been, he apparently raped a 19-year-old. You know, Shanon Sharpe is, I think he's about 60, pushing 60, somewhere in that ballpark. So yeah, you know, that's obviously some heat. You know, that's a hefty allegation to have on you. And you know a lot of people are talking about it, but you know, Shanon Sharpe came out himself. He tried to defend himself. You know, he's trying to defend himself. He brought out more information to add context to the information that was being provided, because they was showing, you know, clips of him basically saying that he was going to choke the victim when he seen her and everything like that. But Shanon added the context to where he put it in full perspective that this is kind of like their dynamic. This is like their relationship, the type of stuff that they do. You know, she's into BDSM. She's into getting a collar put on her. And, you know, he dropped some text messages, and yeah, she's into that. She's into being like degraded on that level, you know, when they are sexually active. So, you know, it's caused a lot of discussion as far as like, oh, you know, what's right, what's wrong, whatever. You know, some people are saying that, you know, that he's being extorted. You know, he's saying he's been extorted because these are the same people. The people that are working on this case is actually the same people that came after Jay-Z in other cases, and, you know, also Diddy and also other NFL players. So the whole thing has caused a lot of conversation. And, you know, there's a few things that I want to add, you know, to the matter. One of the major things that I've been hearing that I agree with, you know, is people saying that, you know, he's being, you know, it's a money grab. I believe it personally is a money grab. You know, that's something I can definitely see it being a money grab. Apparently Shanon Sharpe just got an offer of $100 million for something. I don't know, probably some more podcasts and stuff. But he got offered $100 million for something, and you know, that was in the news a couple days ago. And then fast forward, now this is in the news. And you know, if you read the text messages and the different things that they were saying between each other, you know, it was clearly a transactional relationship, because she was saying stuff like, you know, you cheated on me, now you gotta pay $50,000, $25,000 each cheat. And yeah, he was, you know, it seemed like he's clearly being extorted. But, you know, I feel like, you know, what's interesting is, you know, I feel like we are, where we at in society, I think people are desensitized to this whole extortion thing, you know, when it comes to women extorting men and all of that type of stuff, and using sex and different things and all of these scandals. Like, I don't think that people have the same level of sympathy for these guys as they used to have, you know, just off of what I'm seeing as far as how people are covering this. Because it's not even hard to look at it and tell, like, okay, this man is probably more than likely being extorted. But, you know, these things are still, you know, the public wise, you know, people are kind of like, okay, you seem like he's clearly being extorted, you know, that's messed up. But, you know, when it comes to the media and everything like that, you know, it's seeming like he may be losing the ESPN deal and all of that type of stuff, which would be, you know, unfortunate, I guess. But you know, it's a level of accountability that got to be had, and that's where I feel like a lot of the people don't have as much sympathy as they used to for these kind of cases and stuff like this, because here we have it, we looking at a 60-year-old black man, you know, being extorted by a 19, 20-year-old, you know, white woman. And it's like, I mean, you should have seen, I ain't gonna say you should have seen that coming, but it's kind of like, if you're having this transactional relationship, this woman is an OnlyFans model, you know, if you have this transactional relationship, you know, your hand was in the cookie jar already. You was already in the wrong from the jump. And I ain't gonna be that guy to be on here and be like, okay, you know, because I seen some people say, you know, the age thing, and, you know, I'm not even gonna knock that, because, you know, you 50, well, he was like 54 when she was like 19. It's like, but, you know, I ain't gonna knock that, because, you know, you just never know. You know, I'm sure, you know, when things are done righteously, you know, it's really nothing you can say. But when you seeing things being done from this lens, you seeing things being done on the wicked scale, yeah, when you seeing things be done, when you seeing things be done from the wicked side, it's like, it's really, you can't really have too much sympathy for these guys, because it's like, you know, you were doing this, like you did it to yourself, because, you know, really in reality, you know, you had no business sitting up there dealing with a 19-year-old OnlyFans model. You know, I'm not gonna knock an older man being with a younger woman, because, you know, you just never know. It can get like that, you know, for whatever reason. I don't know. But if you're doing stuff righteously and you're doing things with like good intentions, you know, who's gonna knock it? You know, you legal, you're an adult, she's an adult, it is what it is. But when you get into the, okay, you know, she do OnlyFans and she clearly is gonna have ulterior motives and different things like that, and you decide to still go down that route, then it's just like, you know, it is what it is. Now you being extorted. Now she want 50 million from you. You know, stuff like that. It just be like, it's gotta be some accountability there. It's gotta be some accountability there. You know, you ain't had no business messing with that young girl, and you ain't had no business, you know, it just ain't had no business doing it. So it's kind of like, you know, it is what it is. And it's unfortunate that, you know, it's always coming in the detriment of our, you know, the black man, our image and everything like that. Because now we look, you know, even more like whatever it is that they say we is. You know, we look like some freakazoids, and like, oh, these old freak ass, old black niggas, you know, they want to get, you know, they booties ate, and they want to put, you know, it's just like, bruh, you know, it's just like, bruh, it's crazy, man, it's crazy. But I just think, you know, it just need to be, you know, some accountability. Like, I don't see Shanon as the victim in this situation. You know, he is being victim. He is the, I'll say, you know what, he is the victim in a sense of, you know, the world, of how the world is seeing this thing go down. And it's like, okay, he got the bread, she clearly trying to get his bread, so yeah, whatever, you know. But at the same time, it's like, you know, you shouldn't have been messing with her. So it just go into, you know, you got to get that under control. And that's the, you know, message for all of us men. You know, we have to be disciplined. We have to get that lustful spirit under control, you know. Otherwise you're gonna end up in situations like these. You thinking with, you know, the wrong head, you end up in these crazy situations. Now you sitting up there, this chick want this bread off of you. Now you sitting up there losing your ESPN. You know, you was building all this momentum, and then just like that, everything is just gone, and you ain't did nothing but fulfill a sexual fantasy, but life is deeper than sexual fantasies and motherfucking kinks. Like it's deeper than just kinks and fun, you know. That's not the kind of world we live in. You know, it's real work that need to be did. It's deeper than that. And when you sit up there, got these guys who, you know, whose only purpose is to, you know, make money and buzz nuts, it'd be like, yeah, you're gonna find yourself getting into a lot of stuff, because it's a lot of room for Satan to operate with that, if that's your only thought process. You know, if that's your only line of thinking, it's like, oh, I gotta make this money and I gotta bust these nuts. It's like, that's a field. Satan can have a field day with that. Satan can send a lot of different things your way to make you end up, you know, compromising, selling out, and, you know, getting off of your purpose, getting off your path. So that's, you know, we just gotta learn from these situations when we see a Shanon Sharpe and all of that type of stuff getting these situations, because they fall to their lust. You know, Satan is gonna use that lady in red. He's gonna play to lust every time. You know, that's one of his greatest tools, one of his greatest weapons. He's gonna play to a man's lust. So yeah, man, that's my thoughts on it. You know, I just say, you know, we gotta just do better, steer clear, and, you know, try to avoid the pitfalls, do our best to avoid the pitfalls that Satan set up, because they are there. And, you know, he's gonna do what he's gonna do. You know, he's a roaring lion seeking who he may devour. He don't get no breaks. So yeah, and it's no rest for the wicked, you know, all of them quotes. So it's just like, yeah, man, it is what it is, though. That's my thoughts on the whole Shanon Sharpe thing. You know, hopefully he get it together. You know, he is only getting older, so, you know, Unky got to get that freaky spirit, you know, that freaky little spirit in check. Otherwise, this type of stuff is just gonna keep happening, you know. And yeah, that's pretty much it, though. That's my thoughts. So that's the video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. More content coming. You know, I'm trying to get more consistent. I'm starting to build back up my juice. You know, I'm starting to get my spiritual juice back. So I'm gonna be on here feeding the streets. But for now, that's it. I love y'all. Take care. Stay safe. I'm on y'all boys.